Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Now, we all suspect Police Scotland are very, very corrupt. Indeed, it's almost certain that there are corrupt elements within it. And this is because we all think that it is virtually in the pocket of the SNP. Certainly, when Nicola Sturgeon was in charge, there was an awful lot of stuff that was basically swept under the carpet and was never heard of again. But here we've got a little bit more evidence of this corruption, if it exists, which of course we all think it does. And that is the cash for seats debacle. Now, I've covered this before. I've done the video where a businessman has been seen handing out lots of money in little white envelopes to various people within the party. And then, very shortly later, a certain person somehow manages to get a seat, much against the expectation of all concerned. It seems very, very odd. Well, there was a kind of investigation because Manchester Police were the first ones to have this reported to them. Now, I'm suspecting, because it's Manchester Police and that the accounts have come from, or the accounts were done in Manchester, that this was initially done by the accountants in Manchester. Accountants are, by law, obliged to report things that they suspect being criminal. It's not one of these client confidentiality issues. If they find something that they suspect as being criminal, they are obliged by law and by the professional body to report it. And so I suspect that this initially came from the accountants. However, there's been other reports of the same. We're talking multiple sources. Now, initially, Manchester Police were having a look at it. They've handed it off, of course, to Police Scotland. And despite multiple sources talking about this, it appears that the investigation has been quietly dropped. Proof, if ever there is any needed, that Police Scotland are not just corrupt, but they're implicated in the utter corruption at the very heart of the establishment of Scotland based around the SNP. It is one big cabal of crime. Let's take a look at this. So, new twist in SNP cash for seats allegations as Police Scotland appeal for information. The Nationalist Party has been accused of accepting unregistered donations from a businessman relative of an MP in an alleged cash for seats scandal. Now, I think we all know the people concerned. Certainly we suspect the MP. I'm not going to name anyone because, got to protect myself. But I think it's fairly obvious who this particular MP is. We won't be dropping clues, but it doesn't take the work of a genius to suss out who it may be. The alleged scandal engulfing the SNP over potential cash for seats has taken a new twist as Police Scotland issued a witness appeal. It comes after the incredible action of officers to pause the probe into the allegations despite two similar complaints being made to the force. A Scots businessman who's a relative of a well-known SNP MP has been accused of handing thousands of pounds of unregistered donations to the party in little white envelopes, it must be said. And their relative was given the chance to contest a relatively safe seat for the SNP. Do you not know who this is? I don't want to say. I've got to be very careful. I will think of a way of... I know how I'm going to do this. Look at the thumbnail. And the thumbnail will on no account mean that any particular person seen in the thumbnail does not necessarily represent anybody mentioned within this article. I just want to clarify that I just randomly selected some MPs, some SNP MPs, randomly, as it were. Cops have paused the investigation into the two complaints about the donations. Why are they pausing this? These are serious allegations of corruption, of collusion, of perverting democracy, and they've paused the investigation. They had two different complainants, one of whom we suspect is actually the accountants. They should be delving deeper into it, not pausing it. Anyway, now they've called on anyone who knows about the alleged deals between party officials and the businessmen to come forward. Yes, they're doing this so they say, oh, well, we did look for witnesses. But within the SNP, nobody's going to come forward. They won't. They just won't. The Nationalists are facing claims that party chiefs accepted envelopes stuffed with cash from him in exchange for influence. Gosh, say it ain't so. A further report was sent to Greater Manchester Police before being passed to Police Scotland, with the Mail on Sunday reporting it corroborated the first set of accusations that thousands of pounds of donations were not registered by the SNP amid a suspected cash receipts operation. They should have investigated there and then, and it should have been Greater Manchester Police investigating. That way there can be no allegation of collusion with Police Scotland, who we all know are deeply in the pockets of the SNP. The complaint read, I believe these were actually cash gifts as part of a cash receipts operation to place people who made substantial donations to them into seats to gain elected office. It's been reported that 2 further people have claimed that they heard or saw the Scottish businessman boasting about handing over the money, which is thought to total around £50,000, and we've kept him anonymous for legal reasons, said the paper. Now, that's 3 different people, 3 different sources coming forward, and the police have paused the investigation in the hope that it generally just goes away. A police spokesman was asked about the latest allegations, said, we ask anyone with further information to contact police so this can be considered. And then having considered it, just ignore it and let it just die, wither on the vine, effectively. That's what's going to happen. Based on the information we currently have, there's no further action we can take. Yes, there is. You can investigate, you can arrest, you can question people under oath. You can get them in and get them on a table. Sit them in a room with a tape and question them. Don't give me this guff about there's no further action. There's always further action. It would be a breach of electoral law if the SNP have not declared any of the donations higher than £500, and if found guilty could face sanctions. One of the complainants complained to the Mail on Sunday about the reports of not being followed up. He says, when you have corroboration from many different sources, but the complaints are both just dropped, that is incredible. It is not incredible when you consider the corruption within Police Scotland, when you consider who is actually running Police Scotland, because it isn't the Chief Constable, it's the SNP. They are not a police force, they are a political organisation. They are the Stasi of the SNP. The Gestapo would be nearer. They are the Gestapo of the SNP. They do the bidding of their political masters. The original complaint was sent to cops on the 7th of June, and as a further add-on to the probe into the SNP finances Operation Branchform. And that's obviously talking about Branchform there, which we're not interested in. We've done that 1,000 times. In the letter, the complainant alleges that the businessman handed substantial donations to SNP officials worth tens of thousands of pounds over a number of years. It adds that he was seen handing over cash in white envelopes. And it continues, I've been informed from former SNP members that they were aware of his donations and are shocked that he is not a registered donor to the SNP. The letter does identify the businessman and his MP relative, and also nationalist figures who are alleged to have had either received or been aware of the donations, and yet the police say there's nothing they can do, and they're not questioning these people. They're just going, oh, well, we'll sit here and wait for you to come to us and give us some information, which is their way of dropping it and not investigating it, because they know if they investigate it, senior people in the SNP could be in big trouble, and the SNP then would show how deeply corrupt they are and how deeply corrupt the police are. This is quite literally one hand washing the other. There needs to be an independent inquiry from an outside force. Get Manchester Police in and go through everything, and get Manchester Police to investigate Police Scotland. The second complaint is specifically about unregistered donations and raises claims about cash for seats. It reads, donations that there are no records of, hundreds of thousands of pounds of donations that allegedly were raffles and fundraising, etc. It says, I believe these were actually cash gifts as part of a cash receipts operation to place people who made substantial donations into seats to gain elected office. An SNP spokeswoman said, Police Scotland stated last week it had assessed the complaint and no further action is being taken. And in that line, you know that the SNP and Police Scotland are in cahoots in a criminal conspiracy to deny democracy to the people of Scotland and to pervert democracy and to break electoral law regarding donations. They're in it together. They are both corrupt and they both need to be fully investigated by an outside force, and heads must roll and people must go to jail. I'm stopping and I'm coming up. So there you are. Very, very serious allegations, multiple sources. People generally know about it. One of the sources is probably a professional body. And Police Scotland say, oh, there's nothing we can do. They've not arrested. They've not questioned. They've been given names. They aren't questioning the people named. They're just dropping it because they know if they investigate, it will be very serious, and that the SNP will likely come back and bite Police Scotland and show Police Scotland to be as corrupt as the SNP probably are. And when you have that, that is a conspiracy. That is a conspiracy for crime. Everyone involved needs to be thoroughly investigated. The heart of Scotland is now nothing more than a corrupt, organised crime family. It's no wonder the SNP like to keep marrying each other into power. It's how they protect themselves. It is a medieval dictatorship and it needs to be rejected. There needs to be a revolution, I suggest, in Scotland. And you can't trust any single policeman now, because the fact is that no policemen are coming up and whistleblowing and saying this is a cover-up. And so they're all complicit. Every single policeman in Scotland is complicit in this criminal conspiracy. And every single SNP member is complicit in this criminal conspiracy. We need to treat both these things as the same thing, as organised crime, and get them investigated and get them prosecuted and jail their asses for 40, 50, 60 years. Make sure they never come out of prison. Send the message. And very, very senior policemen and very, very senior politicians can be sharing a cell for years to come. That's what you're dealing with in Scotland. I'll stop there. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope this video has earned a subscription. Till next time, stay safe, stay well, and don't forget to hit that button. Bye.